I never believed in ghosts until the night I became one. The bullet missed me by 3 inches. I know because I measured it later. Traced the trajectory from the shattered window behind my desk to the hole in the mahogany paneling. 3 inches. The difference between breathing and bleeding out on Persian carpet that cost more than most people earn in a year. The sirens were already wailing in the distance, climbing through the midnight air like mechanical wolves. My hands, while I'm shaking, they never shake. But my mind was racing through possibilities, calculating angles, reviewing faces. Someone close, had to be. The sniper knew exactly where I'd be standing at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Knew which window, which room. And now, I knew something too. I knew his name. They call me a lot of things in this city. Most of them I've earned. The architect, the silent king. My personal favorite, though I'd never admit it, is the man who sees around corners. I didn't build my empire with bullets and bloodshed. Those are tools for the desperate, the stupid, the soon-to-be dead. I built it with information, with patience, with the understanding that true power isn't making people fear you, it's making them need you. I know which councilman has a gambling problem, which police captain visits the same motel every Thursday with someone who isn't his wife, which shipping manifests get overlooked at the ports, and which inspectors have college tuition they can't afford. I don't threaten, I don't demand, I simply facilitate. And in return, the city runs smoothly. My city. For 12 years I've been untouchable, not because of the guards outside my door or the lawyers on retainer. Because I made myself essential to the infrastructure. You can't remove me without the whole system collapsing, and everyone knows it. Or they did anyway. Someone just tested that theory. The attempt on my life wasn't random. Random doesn't exist at my level. Everything is calculated, motivated, orchestrated. I spent the rest of that night reconstructing the why. Paced my office while Marcus, my head of security, swept for additional threats. The shattered window let in the November cold, but I barely noticed. 3 possibilities emerged. First, Antonio Vega. The Miami syndicate had been pushing north for months, testing boundaries, absorbing smaller operations. Taking me out would leave a vacuum. But Antonio was old school, traditional. He'd have sent a message first, a warning. This wasn't his style. Second, internal betrayal. Maybe someone in my own organization thought they were ready to lead, thought 12 years of watching me work meant they understood how I worked. They were wrong, but ambition makes people stupid. Third, and this one kept me awake till dawn, something from before, a ghost from the past I thought I'd buried, a decision that seemed clean at the time but left loose threads, the kind of threads that given enough years someone might pull. I reviewed files until my eyes burned. Scanned through 5 years of closed accounts, severed partnerships, relocated problems. Then, I saw it. A name I hadn't thought about in 47 months. But whoever planned the hit underestimated one thing. I had already survived the worst betrayal of my life, the one that made me what I am. After that, I learned to see everyone as a potential threat. To trust systems, not people. To always have a contingency. The assassin had taken his shot. Now, it was my turn to play. His name was David Castellano. Professional, mid-30s, former military, marine sniper, 2 tours, honorable discharge. No criminal record, no known affiliations with any organization, legitimate or otherwise. A ghost gun for hire. I pulled his file while Marcus traced the trajectory. Castellano was good, very good. His previous contracts read like a masterclass in precision. A corrupt judge in Baltimore, a cartel enforcer in Houston, a hedge fund manager in Manhattan who'd made enemies of the wrong investors. Clean shots, minimal evidence, maximum deniability. He'd never failed, never even been suspected. That kind of record attracts attention in certain circles, the kind of circles where people whisper names over encrypted calls and transfer payments through laundered accounts. Someone had reached out to him, offered him enough money to risk breaking his perfect streak. But why did he accept? I found the answer in his sister's medical records. Stage 4 lymphoma, experimental treatments not covered by insurance, bills accumulating faster than a teacher's salary could manage. He needed $500,000 within 6 months. Someone offered him exactly that. David Castellano wasn't a monster. He was a desperate man who'd convinced himself that killing one more person, someone who probably deserved it anyway, would save the only family he had left. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. He'd planned it perfectly, studied my routines for 3 weeks, identified the pattern. Every Tuesday night, I reviewed weekly reports alone in my study. Same room, same window, same chair. Predictable. He'd rented an apartment across the street, 8th floor, perfect sightline. Set up at 11:30, waited for my silhouette to appear against the backlight of my desk lamp. The shot should have been clean. Headshot. Instant. Untraceable. But he'd made 3 mistakes. First, he didn't know about the phone call. My daughter called at 11:46, something she rarely does. I stepped away from the desk to take it privately, moved to the window, changed my position by exactly 3 inches. Second, he trusted his employer's intelligence. They told him I'd be alone. They didn't know about Marcus, who happened to be delivering a file and saw the muzzle flash. Third, and most critical, he assumed killing me would be enough. That there wouldn't be a response, that my organization would collapse into chaos, making his escape simple. He was wrong about that too. The shot was fired, but the boss was still alive. And now David Castellano had the one thing no professional killer should ever have, a target who knew he existed. The city reacted like a disturbed anthill. By morning, everyone knew about the attempt, not because I publicized it. I didn't, but because 37 people heard the sirens, saw the police activity, and started making calls. In my world, information travels faster than light. I watched the ripple spread. Allies called to express concern and probe for weakness. Rivals made subtle moves, testing whether my grip had loosened. Neutral parties hedged their bets, preparing for whatever came next. But the most interesting reaction came from within my own organization. Someone had leaked my Tuesday night routine. Someone close enough to know it existed, detailed enough to sell it, trusted enough to have access. I called a meeting for noon, all 12 of my senior lieutenants, told them I wanted to discuss security upgrades after the incident. I watched them as they arrived, studied their faces, their posture, the micro-expressions they thought I couldn't read. 11 of them showed appropriate concern, anger, loyalty. The 12th, Vincent, my logistics coordinator for 8 years, showed relief. Brief, flickering, almost invisible, but I saw it. He thought I was dead. For 17 hours, Vincent had believed the plan worked, and in that moment before he saw me alive, before he arranged his face into appropriate shock, he'd relaxed, just for a second. That second told me everything. I didn't confront him, didn't accuse, just conducted the meeting normally, discussed enhanced protocols, dismissed everyone with assurances. Vincent left thinking he'd gotten away with it. I didn't need revenge. I've never needed revenge. Revenge is emotional, sloppy, satisfying in the moment, but strategically worthless. I needed control. So I gave Vincent exactly what he wanted. Over the next week, I became paranoid, visible, sloppy, started questioning loyalties, making accusatory comments about people who had nothing to do with the attempt, created chaos and suspicion. Vincent watched it all with barely concealed satisfaction, saw me unraveling, probably contacted his employer, whoever that was, to report that the assassination attempt, though failed, had accomplished its goal. I was destabilized, vulnerable. Meanwhile, I was doing what I do best, building a case. I traced Vincent's finances, found the offshore account opened 4 months ago, tracked the deposits, small enough to avoid attention, large enough to matter, followed his communications through burner phones he thought were secure. And then I found who was paying him. Not Antonio Vega, not a rival syndicate. My own nephew, Marco. 28 years old, grew up watching me build this empire. Thought he understood power because he'd been adjacent to it his whole life. Spent the last 5 years working legitimate businesses I'd set up, building his own reputation, waiting for his moment. He'd decided his moment was now. The revelation should have hurt. Maybe once it would have, but I'd learned long ago that family means nothing compared to ambition. Marco wasn't trying to destroy me out of hatred, he just wanted what I had and lacked the patience to earn it properly. So I made my move. Not against Marco, not yet. Against the system he'd tried to use against me. I fed Vincent false information, told him in confidence that I'd identified the leak, someone else, completely innocent, asked Vincent to help me set up a meeting to handle it quietly. Vincent, eager to eliminate any investigation that might eventually lead back to him, agreed immediately. The meeting never happened. Instead, I let Vincent report back to Marco that I was about to execute a loyal lieutenant for treason. Let Marco see what kind of monster he thought I was. Let him begin to doubt whether he really wanted this life. Then I visited Marco myself. We met in his downtown loft. Modern, expensive, tasteful, everything I'd given him the capital to afford. "Uncle," he said, standing, trying for casual, failing. "Sit down, Marco." He sat. I didn't. 12 years ago your father, my brother, tried to kill me. Did you know that? His face went pale. No, he told me it was a car accident. It was supposed to look like one. He wanted control of the organization, thought he was ready, thought I was holding him back. I walked to his window, looked out at the city lights. I loved him, and he tried to put a bullet in my head. What did you do? I gave him a choice, disappear or face consequences. He chose to disappear. I told everyone, including you, that he died in an accident. Let him live quietly in Arizona with a new name and enough money to never need anything. I turned back to face him. You hired Vincent to leak my schedule. You found David Castellano. You arranged everything. Not a question, a statement. I don't. I held up a hand. I have the accounts, the communications, the money trails. I have everything, Marco. What I don't have is an explanation that would make this acceptable. He stood then, drew himself up. You've held power for 12 years. You're not immortal. Someone will eventually, but it won't be you. The certainty in my voice stopped him. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to sell your businesses, all of them, for exactly what you paid. The buyers are already arranged. You're going to take that money and leave. Tonight. Go somewhere far away, build a different life, and you'll never set foot in this city again. And if I refuse? I smiled, not warmly. Then I'll release evidence of your involvement in attempted murder to every law enforcement agency in the state. You'll spend the next 20 years in federal prison. And in prison, you won't have my name protecting you. You'll just be another inmate who tried to kill a connected man. Do you understand how that usually ends? He understood. You have 12 hours, I said, walking to the door. After that, the choice is out of your hands. I paused at the threshold. Your father made the same mistake you did. He thought power was something you could take. It's not. It's something you build, carefully, over years, one relationship at a time, one favor at a time, one piece of leverage at a time. You don't have that. You just have ambition and money I gave you. Uncle, don't contact me again. I left him standing there, surrounded by the trappings of success he'd never really earned. By morning, he was gone. David Castellano was harder to find than Marco. He'd gone underground the moment he realized the shot missed. Probably expected immediate retaliation. Probably spent the week waiting for a bullet with his name on it. But I didn't want him dead. I wanted him to understand. It took Marcus 11 days to locate him, a storage unit outside the city where he'd been sleeping in his car, afraid to use any credit cards or contact anyone who might lead me to him. When I arrived, he had a gun pointed at me before I was fully through the door. I'm alone, I said calmly, and if I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be talking. His hand didn't waver. Then what do you want? To offer you a choice. I could see him calculating, trying to find the trap. What choice? You needed $500,000 for your sister, Sarah. Stage 4 lymphoma. Treatments at Johns Hopkins. His jaw tightened. Of course I knew. The person who hired you paid you $50,000 upfront, promised the rest on completion. But you failed, which means you'll never see that money, which means Sarah will die. If you're here to threaten her, I'm here, I interrupted, to pay for her treatment. All of it. Best doctors, experimental trials if necessary, full care until she recovers, or, I let that hang, or doesn't. He stared at me. Why? Because you're not evil, Mr. Castellano. You're desperate. You made a choice I might have made in your position. And because the person who really tried to kill me wasn't you. You were just a tool. Tools can be repurposed. What's the cost? Smart man. There's always a cost. You work for me. Not as a killer. I have no need for that. But your skills have other applications. Security consulting, problem solving, legitimate work mostly. And you never speak about this contract again. Not to anyone. Ever. He lowered the gun slowly. And my sister? She gets treated regardless. That's not contingent on your answer. I'm not a monster, whatever you've heard. But I am practical. You have talents I can use. I'm offering employment, not servitude. He was quiet for a long time. Then, what happened to the person who hired me? He left town, permanently. He won't bother you or anyone else again. And Vincent, the one who gave him my information? I smiled slightly. Vincent learned an important lesson about loyalty. He's currently explaining to federal investigators how he accidentally stumbled across evidence of Marco's money laundering. Evidence I provided. He'll cooperate fully in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years instead of 20. You turned him into a witness against Marco, but Marco's gone. Marco's gone, I agreed, but the investigation will find exactly what I wanted to find. And Vincent will spend 5 years understanding that betrayal has consequences. When he gets out, he'll be a convicted felon with no prospects and a reputation as an informant. No one in my world will ever trust him again. David Castellano studied me with new understanding. You didn't need to kill anyone to destroy them. No, I didn't. He took a breath, let it out slowly. I accept. Good. Marcus will get you set up. New apartment, security cleared. Sarah's treatment starts Monday. I turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The shot you took, 3 inches high and right. What happened? For the first time, something like shame crossed his face. Phone call. You moved. Just bad timing. Not bad timing. My daughter, she never calls me, but that night she did. Said she'd been thinking about me. Just wanted to say hello. I met his eyes. You almost killed me because my daughter decided to call and tell me she loved me. Remember that, Mr. Castellano. Remember how thin the line is between life and death. How much depends on things we can't control. I left him there with that thought. The city settled, slowly, carefully, like dust after an explosion. I didn't announce what happened to Marco. Didn't need to. People noticed his absence, drew conclusions, asked no questions. Vincent's arrest made the news. Minor fraud charges, play agreement, nothing connected to me. David Castellano became another security consultant on my payroll. Unremarkable, unknown. Everything returned to normal. Except, it didn't. The assassination attempt changed something fundamental. Not my power, that remained intact, but the perception of it. People saw that someone had tried to kill me and failed, saw that the response wasn't violence but strategy, saw that I could turn an attack into an advantage. My empire didn't weaken, it grew stronger. 3 new partnerships formed within a month. 2 rival organizations that had been testing boundaries suddenly became very cooperative. The city's underground economy ran smoother than it had in years. Because now, they understood. I wasn't dangerous because I could hurt them. I was dangerous because I could outthink them, outplan them, turn their own moves against them. The assassination attempt made me more powerful than I'd been before. But it also taught me something I'd been trying to ignore for 12 years. This never ends. There will always be a Marco, a Vincent, a desperate man with a rifle and a reason. Power attracts betrayal the way light attracts moths. I'm 53 years old. I've built an empire that runs like clockwork. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. I have influence, respect, control. What I don't have is peace. That night after everything was resolved, I sat in my study, the window now replaced, the bullet hole in the paneling patched over, and called my daughter. Dad? She sounded surprised. Everything okay? Everything's fine, I said. I just wanted to hear your voice. That's weird. I almost never hear from you, and now twice in 2 weeks? I know, I should call more. You should, she agreed. Then gentler. But I'm glad you called. We talked for 20 minutes. About her job, her apartment, her life. Nothing important, everything important. When I hung up, I sat in the silence of my study and understood the truth I'd been avoiding. In the city of shadows, surviving was more dangerous than dying. Because survival meant continuing, meant more Marcos, more Vincents, more desperate men with rifles. Meant constant calculation, perpetual vigilance, endless strategy. I'd won this round. I'd probably win the next, but eventually, maybe years from now, maybe decades, someone would be smarter, luckier, more desperate. And 3 inches wouldn't be enough. I opened my desk drawer. Inside was a folder I'd prepared years ago. Succession plans, legitimate exits, ways to transfer power without creating a vacuum. I'd never seriously considered using it. Now I took it out, read through it slowly. Not tonight. Not tomorrow, but someday. Someday I would choose to stop surviving and start living. Until then, I had work to do. The city doesn't sleep, neither do I.